Jack and Nog, and here we are yet again for Duke Simber. Now, Duke Nukem 3D was extraordinarily popular. So popular, in fact, that other developers were actually tapped to create games to tide over gamers until Duke Nukem Forever was released. Now, one must remember that Duke Nukem Forever was first supposed to be released in 1998, and then the development cycle continued, and it was supposed to come out in 2001. And so really, until about 2002, there were numerous Duke Nukem games released to fill the void. Now, these games ranged from third-person shooters to side-scrollers. And really, these games were actually pretty bloody good for the most part. Although, a game we'll look at a little bit later, Land of the Babes, was, well, kind of the worst of the lot. Now, ultimately, the Duke Nukem franchise has many more games than just Duke 3D and Duke Nukem Forever, and these games have been forgotten in recent years. Now today, we're actually taking a look at Duke Nukem Manhattan Project, a side-scroller released in 2002. That is pretty much a big love letter to the first two Duke Nukem games. And with that, let's jump right in.
The gameplay for Duke Nukem Manhattan Project is that of an action platformer, and is very good. Damn good, in fact. So what you do in this game is side-scroll your way through each level, shooting pig cops, because it's always pig cops. And you, of course, have to solve a few puzzles here and there, collect a key, and thank the great space dragon, save a babe or two, who thanks you by showing off pretty good jiggle physics.
And that's one of the best things about this game. In this game, you can actually save the babes, and really outside of this particular game and the ones on the Nintendo consoles, Duke doesn't get to save all that many babes. Really, babe saving is key, because it makes Duke Nukem a quippy, awesome action hero. Unfortunately, though, this is in direct conflict with Duke Nukem's character in Duke Nukem Forever, where he was more of a psychopathic dinosaur. Or perhaps we should say Dukeosaur? Now there's a thought. Oh, how I miss the 90s. Couldn't we have just had an awesome Duke Nukem game where he got transformed into a dinosaur, and so we have like a shades-wearing, cigar-chomping T-Rex going around crushing pig cops?
Despite this being an action platformer, the controls to the keyboard are actually quite good, and they are definitely well laid out, and it's definitely playable with it. But if, like me, you prefer using a controller for games such as this, the game actually, despite being released way back in 2002, can actually recognize a modern Logitech controller from the get-go. The game controls really quite well no matter what method you use, and the platforming is really quite precise. The camera is actually your friend in this game and always follows the action instead of being fixated upon a wall, and you never feel like the controls or camera get you killed. The shooting is also quite fun as well, and there are thankfully many other enemies other than the generic pig cops. And the enemies have a nice variety to them and actually are more humorous than anything else, ranging from foul scaven to kung fu fighting mutated crocodiles.
Oh, the 90s. Before everything had to be edgy, or culturally sensitive, or politically correct. You know, I think if this game were made today, people would be complaining about the kung fu alligators as culturally insensitive and not politically correct enough.
You also fight a female enemy as well, proving once and for all that Duke is an equal opportunity ass kicker. The weapons for the game are pretty good. You start the game with a golden desert eagle that does some decent damage.
And seeing as how this is 2002, it seems that Duke had not yet found the one true pistol, the weapon made by the holy hands of John Moses Browning, the 1911 A1.
Really, the other weapons for the game are not that much better than the Desert Eagle. You get a shotgun, and well, this gun can pretty much carry you through most of the game. You then, of course, get an assault rifle, and this gun can actually pretty much carry you through the whole game. Really, the game doesn't focus on shooting all that much, as it really is more focused on platforming and precision jumping and figuring out minor puzzles here and there. Still, though, the actual shooting aspects of the game are still fairly cathartic. Now, you also get pipe bombs. However, these work a bit differently from your standard weapons as it gets its own control, and in addition to gibbon enemies so enjoyably, it also is used to remove a few environmental obstacles. There are also a few collectibles in the game, such as nukes, and these will raise your health and ammo capacity. And this game also has an ego meter, although it works like a standard health meter. So really, don't complain about it being in Duke Nukem Forever because, well, this game had it first. At the end of each stage, there is a boss fight, and they are all fairly epic, with Duke showing just how much of a badass he really is. and they are definitely a bit over the top at times, but this is in fitting with the overall Duke universe. The graphics for the game are excellent, and the graphics have only aged slightly, although Duke's face does leave a bit to be desired. The levels are designed quite well, and there are numerous flourishes throughout, and they never actually feel dull. And the game actually understands this humor concept, and there are little jokes in the background. This game actually gets the Duke humor right, and does not dip into Seltzer and Freeberg levels of stupidity. Sound design is also quite good, with the guns sounding awesome, and all the other sounds being of high quality. And I'm not sure who used it first, but picking up certain items will use a sound effect from the Serious Sam games. John St. John himself is at the top of his game when it comes to being Duke. And, well, just listen.
Guns don't kill mutants. I kill mutants. I go where I please, and I please where I go.
Story for the game is excellent, as it actually tries to be funny instead of edgy or serious.
The story starts up with Duke Nukem in New York City, where he has pledged to save the city from a Dr. Wily-esque mad scientist who is creating mutants in a bid for power. And Duke, since he works for a living in this era, is on a mission to stop him. And in the game, everything comes together to make Duke Nukem a hero, and that is why he was and is supposed to be a good guy, who at the end of the day heads to a strip club on his Harley Davidson. He is the guy who will save the day and not give two shits if he is socially acceptable to the masses. Really, this game reminded me why I was a Duke fan to begin with. Duke, when done right, is neither a dinosaur or a Dukeosaur. He is 100% awesome, and I do find it funny that he is ruffling sensitivity feathers today, just like when he first blasted his way onto the scene in the 1990s. These days, we need more characters like Duke, who are still good guys, but don't give a shit about political correctness or whether they trigger someone.
I am the king of the world, baby.
And sadly, that is all for Duke Nukem Manhattan Project. It can be had for fairly cheap these days, either on GOG.com or Xbox Live Arcade. Ultimately, whichever one you choose, it works fairly well. And overall, it is one of the classic Duke games that hopefully will not be forgotten for much longer. And so, I am General Lotz, and I'm going to wish you good Duke Nukem Land of the Babes, and good Duke Nukem Advance, whatever makes you happy.